This is a 1 versus 120 battle. I've started to order my warband to retreat when confronting enemy warbands and facing them alone, because one of my goals for this campaign is to reach level 62. I'm given to understand from the YouTuber Hero that is the built-in level cap in Bannerlord. When I learned there was a level cap, the completionist in me set my sights on achieving it. Anyway, it takes a lot of EXP to make levels once your character hits level 45 or so, and while I can get upward to 1.5 million experience from a large battle, where I get 150 to 200 kills, my enemies don't form armies to fight me quickly enough to suit me. In a fight such as this, I stand to gain nearly as much EXP as I would from a large battle. You'll see, I'm having a hard time trying to deal with this archer-heavy warband, even though I have an ideal loadout for dealing with them in my polearm and shield, because I've opted to attack while they are so spread out. A better strategy would have been to run away and let the enemy archers come to me. Once they reached firing range, they would attempt to spread out and shoot at me, but they would be less spread out than they are now, and I would be able to run their infantry through their formation, body blocking the archers' shots. As you can see, my health bar and that of my horse are suffering due to my lack of foresight. It also would have been ideal to move the battle in order to deal with the cavalry, outside the range of the foot archers. It can be hazardous to run these circular routes around the enemy foot troops right now, because at any moment the enemy cavalry could run in front of me, stopping me in my tracks and exposing me to a barrage of easy shots from the enemy archers. As you can see, despite my lack of strategy, I've managed to whittle the enemy foot archers down to a more manageable size, though it has cost me most of my health bar. I have finally decided it's time to deal with the remaining cavalry. I, like so many others, have noticed that since the last patch, the enemy is much more focused on blocking than they were previously. I feel like this is a good change. It makes a lot of sense to me that enemy combatants would do everything they could to stay alive against an enemy they know is focused on them. This is why in large battles I try primarily to target enemies that are focused on another goal, whether that goal is relocating or the demise of one of my allies. In battles such as this, though, I am the only target, which means all of my enemies are focused on me, and it can be difficult to get a kill in edgewise, as it should be. I've noticed that a good strategy for getting a kill on an enemy that is focusing you, especially on horseback, is to wait for them to telegraph their intent to attack you, and then beating them, literally, to the punch through superior skill, equipment, and timing. When a mounted enemy elects to show you their shield rather than attack you, it's always better to aim your attack low and attempt to take out their mount. As you may have noticed, I have not yet mastered this technique. I will be the last to tell you that I am a skilled Bannerlord combatant. I do love this game, though. I think it's remarkable that after thousands of hours of playtime, I am still finding and attempting to implement new ways to optimize my gameplay, and that the process is so enjoyable. I now have my enemies in the more optimal position I had described earlier, albeit with 3 cavalry still in play, and a nearly empty health bar for both myself and my horse. A precarious position, to say the least, given the sheer quantity of enemies remaining. I change my direction here to a clockwise circle so that the enemies I intend to attack are on my right hand side. This lends my thrusting attacks more reach, as my character is not having to reach across his torso with the attack. Seeing the cavalry break away from the infantry, now is the perfect time to deal with them. As there are no archers left and only 1 cavalry, I opt to dispatch him with my javelins. Now that I only have infantry combatants left, I might as well use up the remaining javelins in my bag and discard the bag, reducing my weight. This is still tricky, because even though there are only infantry left, many of those infantry are pikemen or have spears, and a single well-timed hit would be enough to end the battle in their favor. The technique I'm attempting to employ here is to circle them quickly enough that their attacks can't track my trajectory. Meanwhile, their attempts to hit me with their polearms open them up to my counterattacks. This technique is most optimal against enemy spearmen, but can work against pikemen with additional risk. The pikemen's extra reach and polearm skill make them more likely to land their attacks, and I have no room for error now. That hit, making my health bar imperceivable, makes me decide to take a minute to reassess my situation. I come up with nothing and decide to continue the battle. At least I gave myself a chance to breathe. My breather had an unexpected but beneficial result. As my enemy chased me, the slower sword and shield infantry fell behind, while the quicker, non shield bearing pikemen outstripped them, separating the two infantry. This is a benefit because the pikemen are no longer covered by the shields of their battle brothers as they were when they were mixed. Though I didn't realize it at the time. I became frustrated as they mixed together again, making my attacks more and more fruitless, and threw caution to the wind. I have recently rediscovered that overhand polearm attacks can deal crush through damage, even when blocked. I got away with my reckless maneuver, and now that there are fewer spears and pikes left, it has actually become the best strategy. A couple of wounded troops lose heart and attempt to flee, which suits me just fine. I re-equip my shield and make a few coward kebabs. The deserters dealt with, I return to my seemingly winning strategy. This is really cool to see. The enemy, with their numbers dwindled, have decided to change tact and spread out, holding their position more, mob mentality no longer reigning, and you can see them no longer thinking of how they can win, but rather how they can survive. The enemy warband of 120 is reduced to its final 2 men standing. I decide to honor these brave warriors by treating them as equals and challenging them in a duel.